Ryan Jeffers opened the game with a home run, but that was the extent of the damage as the Twins fall 5-1 on a sleepy night at Target Field. We'll look at the Paddock-Rodon matchup, how the bullpen looked, and we'll look forward to Pablo Day on Wednesday. This is the Locked On Twins Postcast.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, hi, how are ya? It is the Locked On Twins Postcast. I'm your host, filling in Mr. Brandon Warne at Brandon_WARNE. You can also see me usually on the regular Locked On Twins, which is hosted with Dave Brown. But we are going to take care of getting you through the slog that was game one of the series. We'll get you ready for game two. It's going to be Pablo Day against Marcus Stroman. But first, let me introduce my cohort in this one, Mr. Lou Hennessy at Sweet Lou MN on the tweets. What up?
Here we are. What can we say? Those damn Yankees.
Yeah, and I'll be asking you about that because it's still, I know the Twins exercised some demons last year winning the season series, but at some point too, makes you wonder if there's still maybe that little bit of cloud hanging over that series. Thanks for making Locked On Twins and the Postcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And of course, as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, we're your team every day. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a thumbs up in the chat. We are live, so if you're with us, make sure you give us a shout. We would love to hear from you. Jeff already checking in, saying sloppy defense and untimely hitting. We'll break that down, but Twins 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. So true enough. This episode, by the way, is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use the code LockedOnMLB. That's all lowercase. That's all one word for a first deposit match up to $100. Also, remember, you can catch every pitch of the Twins hometown broadcast with Chris and usually Danny, but Paul Molitor right now on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Twins. It's Pablo Day against Marcus Stroman on Wednesday. First pitch at 6:40 at Target Field. So we'll get you prepared for that. But first, Lou, you said you were coming back from the ballpark. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. Yep. It was like you said, it was a sleepy night at the ballpark tonight, especially in the Twins lineup. But, it's always fun when the Yankees come to town. And I think there's a crowd of about 24,000 tonight, which is just under what they were hoping for, but better than what we saw in the Mariners series. But unfortunately, they didn't get much of a show, at least from the hometown nine.
Yeah. And as much as the Twins are not available on television, I don't know that it's going to help them that much in terms of attendance. We've also seen too, like the old NFL rules with blackouts, they would not show the game locally unless it was sold out. And we've seen a few of those back in the day, but that's not the case here. That's not the case. Now, they did say on the telecast that this was the first game one of a series loss for the Twins since April 19th. So less than a week shy of a month, 5 days shy of a month. And I mean, that's more stats of something that happened and not stats of something that actually matter.
Right.
But it is true. The Twins have had more letdowns, I feel like, either middle or end of the series. We saw against Toronto and Seattle, the second games of both of those series, the bullpens kind of had a blow up. But not so much the case with the bullpen this time. It was more the starter. What did you see out of Chris Paddock tonight?
You can tell that he still doesn't have his nastiest stuff. That changeup is still a work in progress. You can tell it's something that he's relied on a lot in the last few years and just hasn't been there the last couple of go around in the rotation here. But it also needs to be said that the Yankees lineup is filled with juggernauts. There's some top to bottom. There's some real sluggers in there that gave Paddock some fits tonight. They were lacing him all over the place. Even some of the catches in the outfield, they were hit, 110 off the bat, 114 from Stanton, I think. And so that's a tall task for Mr. Chris Paddock. And if he doesn't have one of his best offerings and that changeup really going, it's going to be a tough night.
Yeah, we can run down the scoring summary. Jeffers leads the game off with a homer. That's it for the Twins offense. Oswaldo Cabrera in the second with a sac fly. Volpe with a 2-run double. Stanton homering to left center, and Verdugo doubling to center to score Judge and Soto. To me, that kind of touches all the bases of the guys who, if you lose to the Yankees and their best guys beat you, you just kind of check them off the list. I just listed pretty much all of them.
Right, absolutely. And I am sure we're headed there next, but the other guy on the mound was also having a pretty good night for himself too, which made things even more difficult.
And I keep coming back to Rodon and the fact that he, last year was a pretty lost year for him.
Yes.
But when he was a free agent and the Twins were in the marketplace and it was coming down to, do they get a starter? Do they spend more money on, they went and get Carlos Correa again. I was frankly interested in Carlos Rodon for the front of this rotation, and Rodon and Pablo at their best would be pretty dang nasty. It didn't happen again. And he had a really lost year last year, but when he's at his best, as far as left-handed starters go, they don't get much more nasty than Carlos Rodon.
Right. Absolutely. And we got the best version of him tonight, unfortunately, or at least the Twins did. He had everything working for him. And unfortunately, the bottom half of that lineup just really, really failed to put anything together, get too much momentum. We got a nice double from Austin Martin, which was great to see, at least a couple extra bases for him. But besides that, we're getting guys like Christian Vasquez, who are still really reeling in it, and same with Kyle Farmer. But I feel like we were mentioning that pretty much every episode here.
Yeah, lots of haves and have-nots in the lineup, and there is a divide in every lineup, whether it's after the 5th, 6th, 7th spot. You name it, and that's what happens when your team is not as healthy as you'd like it to be.
Sure.
A good old-fashioned pitched game, but I mean by that is only 2 pitches, 97 miles per hour or faster. Fastballs. Ian Hamilton came out of the Yankees bullpen throwing darts. They said this on the radio broadcast because I was coming back. I coached my daughter's softball team. You can actually see me representing them.
Oh,
here.
There we go.
Right. I was listening to Paul Molitor and Chris Atterbury. I still say Corey Provis from time to time. Talk about that Yankees bullpen, and there's significant Twins flavor out there, whether it's Hamilton or Michael Tonkin. You have Nick Birdie, who the Twins famously drafted very early in a draft, and I'm trying to think if there's anybody else I'm missing. Dennis Santana spent time in the Twins organization last year.
Yes.
So
yep.
It was actually kind of funny. Somebody tweeted a picture. I think it was Caleb Thielbar peeking over the bullpen wall and talking to one of the Yankees relievers. So it was not uncommon.
Yeah, a lot of old friends in that bullpen, that's for sure. I kind of forgot about Dennis Santana's brief tenure with the club. It was just for a spring training, I believe, wasn't it?
It wasn't
Did he
long.
make it out of the club? Yeah, it wasn't long, if anything.
No, I think he ended up, didn't he? Am I remembering right? He went to the Mets and was on their team for a little while too. Reminiscent.
That sounds right.
Tonkin, but that bullpen. And so you talk about getting to a starter, and a lot of times the Twins have tried to do that. The bullpens that the Twins have faced have been, maybe not as good as the rotations. And that is not the case with the Yankees. I do have some stats for their bullpen. Let's see if I can pull those up because I did have them saved, but you know how it goes. But that doesn't apply with the Yankees, who coming into tonight were it was either second or third in bullpen ERA. I'm going to pull it up here if it loads fast enough. Yeah, so here we'll click a couple dials, we'll click a couple levers. 2.63 ERA from their bullpen after tonight. Second in MLB behind, of course, the Guardians at 2.39. They have a lot of slash of 203, 292, 306. For those math challenge, that's a 598 OPS, one of 3 bullpens allowing a sub 600 OPS. So getting to that bullpen does not mean a lot. But with that said, this is not your older brother's Yankees bullpen where they're coming at you with Aroldis Chapman and Tommy Kahnle, Adam Ottavino, and I miss Zach Britton. Back in the day, I say back in the day, 3-4 years ago, but
Sure.
Their top setup man outside of Ian Hamilton right now, do you know who it is?
At this very moment, no. Who do we got?
Luke Weaver.
Ah, yes, the legend himself.
I've always believed in the talent, but yeah, so their bullpen right now is Tonkin, Dennis Santana, Victor Gonzalez, Nick Birdie, Caleb Ferguson, Ian Hamilton, Luke Weaver, and Clay Holmes. That is, to me, quite a mishmash of guys thrown together who are really throwing, as Gardy would say, the fire out of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw their closer tonight, Clay Holmes, Sherlock, and he looked every bit the part. I think they were saying on the broadcast that he has yet to allow a hit off of his slider, off of his breaking ball,
And
and
nowhere in runs yet this year, I don't think.
nowhere in runs. Yeah, so they got locked down right at the end there, and
Locked on, right?
hey, there we go, ding ding ding.
Woo! That's the name of the show. Hey,
Hey.
let's take a quick pause. We got to give some love to Prize Picks. When we come back, I want to ask you a little bit about Rodon going back out with nearly 100 pitches. The bullpen for the Yankees, little used up after a bit of a tough one, but we'll talk about that. We will talk about if the Yankees mystique still exists in our Twins psyche. And also, I want to give people a look at what 13 hits looks like for a slash line in a single game. I don't really believe in single game slash lines, but it's always fun to see what that looks like data-wise. So let's take a quick pause. When we come back, we will have all of that, plus much, much more from a sleepy night at Target Field. Our friends at Prize Picks are North America's largest daily fantasy sports platform. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because it's just you against the numbers. You can pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You're not facing all these other guys who have algorithms or are entering 75 entries into a 100 entry contest, effectively nudging you out of any chance of winning anything. And if you like to be risky, you can play Demons or Goblins. Demons are marked in red, and those are the scary picks. They get your heart rate going, but you can multiply your money times 100. So if you put down $10, you can win 1,000. But again, those are risky, so you really got to put your money where your mouth is. You can do the Goblin picks. Those are in green because they're going to keep you in the green. They're going to allow you to land more consistent victories. But again, the multipliers aren't as high. So you got to mix and match a little bit and, really put your neck on the line. But if you're into the NBA, we are knee deep in the playoffs. You can pick more than or less than on everything from 3-pointers made to technical fouls called on Naz Reid. I'm kidding. And for MLB, which has all the stats in the world, you can do pitchers, strikeouts, first inning runs, all that fun stuff. Download the app today and enter code LOCKEDONMLB. That's all one word and all lowercase. And you'll get a $100 first deposit match, or up to $100, that is. Again, that code is locked on MLB, all one word, all lowercase, and get that first deposit match up to $100. Join Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Yeah, Lou, what did you think? So Rodon has a history of arm issues. Like I don't mean to be like, oh, everybody know, the bandwagon jump or whatever, or the, like a logical fallacy, but comes back out with just a touch under 100 pitches, gets chased after, I think it was a Carlos Santana base hit. And I looked at the bullpen usage. Roster Resource is a lovely site, I might add. But Weaver threw 26 pitches on Sunday, Hamilton 22. That's, wow, 3 days in a row for Hamilton. Don't see the Twins do that very often. 21 for Caleb Ferguson and 16 for Nick Birdie. So really that left Holmes, who hadn't pitched, Tonkin and Santana, and then Victor Gonzalez, who hasn't pitched in like a week almost. I was a little surprised Rodon went back out there for that. I figured it'd be touch and go, batter to batter, which ended up being the case. But I don't know, that close to 100 pitches. Again, I understand people think that, Twins are a little too cautious with all that stuff, but it shocked me to see him go back out there that close to 100.
Yeah, I think just seeing how uncomfortable a lot of the Twins hitters were against him in the innings leading up to it. I know they put together a little something down the line there, but at the end of the day, they just looked uncomfortable. They looked like they were getting, a lot of pop-ups, a lot of lazy fly balls. And I think that probably had something to do with it, just kind of reading his body language and reading the language of the rest of the lineup too, which can be really dangerous with the Twins because we've seen Rocco with his line changes late in games, but it worked for the Yankees tonight.
Shift change at the mine is what I like to call it, or line change. I've shared on X or Twitter or whatever we're calling it right now. I even have an image saved of a hockey line change just for that, and it's hysterical how that works. But that bullpen has 2 lefties. Ferguson, as I stated, 21 pitches on Sunday, so who knows if he was available, but had only thrown 4 pitches total in the 4 days before. So Victor Gonzalez, though, threw 10 pitches on the 8th. Tomorrow, or today, is the 14th. So tomorrow will be a week since he has last pitched. So I don't know how much of that factors into Rocco's decisions late either. Probably not that much, since Gonzalez, again, is rarely used. But it's always interesting to see how those shift changes happen and how they might be navigated with any potential bullpen lefties. I feel like we've seen the Twins face some teams that have not only one, but two lefties in the bullpen, maybe a function of, teams back away from one out lefties because that doesn't exist anymore.
Sure.
But that 26th man on the roster is usually the 13th pitcher. And why not shoehorn a lefty in there, especially if, again, teams are trying to take advantage of those 3-batter minimums? Edouard Julien popped up as though he had been like summoned out of one of those tubes on Mario Brothers when he came up to hit. Yeah, it was hysterical. That's just kind of how it is for that shift change. So I always like to look ahead at the bullpen, see what they've done, see when those guys have worked. But with this Yankees bullpen, I don't really know how you can call it. It's a bunch of journeymen, but they're doing their jobs.
Getting outs in a lot of different ways too. You know what I mean? They don't just stack up power arms, but a lot of guys with a lot of different offerings and a lot of different track records. So it makes for an interesting picture. That's for sure.
Yeah. Twins offense quiet after Jeffers homered. I pulled data on this Monday morning, so we're coming up on 2 days worth of games since this, but Ryan Jeffers has, or at least had at the time, the highest OPS in all of MLB after an 0-1 count at over 1,000. Now, after 1-0, it's like 943. So it's still very, very good. But after 0-1, like, I don't know if people quite understand that an OPS over 1,000 in even a minute sample size, I think it's like 60 or 70 plate appearances, is astonishingly good. I can't say enough about how good Jeffers has been. And, it makes it easy to put his name in the lineup every day, whether he's catching or DHing.
Yeah, no. And tonight was just one of those things where, he hit a ball, 414 feet on an inside pitch. And coming into tonight's game, he had literally the lowest average exit velocity on inside pitches in MLB this year. So, he's finding different ways. He's adjusting, which is really great to see, especially for someone in a breakout campaign. Last week we saw him hit a home run off a changeup. He's notoriously pretty bad against changeups. So yeah, it's really fun to see a little development, and it's fun to see the picture kind of get filled in here as the season goes along.
Yeah, his StatCast sliders, I don't think could be much more puzzling. He's got a lot of red, and then there's a couple of, I don't know if they're blue or what, but just like, you're looking at barrel rate and exit velocity and all that, and you're just kind of like, either he hits the crap out of the ball or it's a soft roller. Again, I can't make sense of it. It goes to show, one, sliders don't tell you everything you need to know at all times. But we're 6 weeks into the season, so we're still kind of dealing with the finicky nature of statistics this point of the season.
Sure. Yeah, no, but it's been fun to see. It's great to see him getting slid into the lineup in designated hitter roles every now and then. A lot of people will take issue with that, but for the most part, it's worked pretty well in the Twins' favor.
Yeah, and it hasn't come back to bite the Twins with the need to insert your DH/catcher and lose that DH spot. Which again, it helps that St. Paul is so close, and granted, even if they're on the road, they might be in Louisville or Toledo or something. So it's not that far away, which is also beneficial. Again, Twins offense quiet after the Jeffers homer. They did note on the broadcast that the Twins had a 780 OPS from innings 7 through 9. That was tops in MLB. To me, I always get kind of this hopeless feeling late in games. I think it's just a human nature tendency thing where even if the players don't clench up like fans do, you get real nervous when you're down 3-2, 4-2 late. Like when Kepler scampered home when Taylor Saucedo was laying on the ground. And part of me is like, man, that feels like bad karma. But also, you better score because we need to tie this thing up.
And I think Max said all the right things after that too, for what it's worth. It's a sticky situation. There's no right answer necessarily, but I really thought that he responded well with that criticism.
Well, let's take a quick second. We do have to give some love to Policy Genius, and then we'll come back. We'll circle the bases here quick, finish everything off, and get everybody to the Wolves game, which is in progress as we speak. But again, first, a word from Policy Genius. Now, we all know that life insurance is a very important safety net for a family, but trying to find the right policy on your own can be time consuming and overwhelming. You don't want to get caught up in something that's not efficient. You don't want to get caught up in something that's not going to take care of your family in the event that you're not there to take care of them yourself. With Policy Genius, you can find insurance policies starting at just $292 per year. Now, I'm not great at math, but that's not much more than $20 a month to make sure your family's taken care of with $1 million worth of coverage. Some options also offer same-day approval and avoid those unnecessary medical exams. So if you have a need for life insurance, this is the place to go. I have it. My family's covered between a couple different places, and I'm not saying it helps me sleep every single night, but it is good to know that the world is an unpredictable place. But if I were no longer in it, my family would be taking care of my 2 little kids, my wife, and all of that. Policy Genius will help you compare your options from top companies, and they have a team of licensed experts that will walk you through it. They don't get paid on commission, so they have no incentive to push anything on you. And if you already have life insurance, you might want to make sure that it also has enough protection. Think circumstances change. Maybe you bought a house. Maybe you had another kid. That requires more money to navigate in a life that, or a post, I don't even know how to put it, a life where you may not be around to help provide for your family. Policy Genius will give you unbiased advice, and they have thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found the best fit for their needs. So check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB. Lou, the slash line for a team that scores only 5 runs but gets 13 hits. You ready for this?
Let's hear it.
I want you to guess what a batting average for that looks like.
Let's see. It was 12 hits, 13 hits, you said? 13 hits.
13 hits. Lucky number 13.
380 batting average.
351. And
okay.
It probably was about 380 before the last inning or toward the end there. I'm sure with Paddock, it was probably closer to 500 or better.
Yeah, right.
It's 351, 390, 486. So maybe like Luis Ariz in the first couple months last year. Now imagine an entire offense doing that for a full game. And honestly, it's a wonder they didn't score more than 5 runs.
It is.
If we're perfectly candid, especially not only because they got to Paddock, but they faced 3 bullpen relievers. And I have this thing, I don't know if you've heard, but I call them befores and afters. And with a bullpen, the befores are the guys who come in before you take the lead, and then there's the guys who come in after. And it's a very divisive line. That line can shift depending on how deep your bullpen is. Noting that, sounds like Justin Topa is going to have some more issues before he possibly comes back. He would have been an after for me, but I digress. He's going to be a much, much after if he even pitches this year. But the Twins go to 3 befores in Jay Jackson, Steven Okert, and Josh Stalmont. They combine for 4 shutout innings, 1 walk, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts. But in general, I was especially impressed by Jackson because he had to go after a Yankees lineup that when your ERA is a Twin Cities area code, I don't know, man. I'm not really feeling that.
It's a tough ask for sure, but he did really well tonight, and it was pretty crucial for him to go multi-innings tonight. It was good to see, and it was definitely an outing that he really needed after a pretty tough opening, 6 weeks that we have here.
Which of those 3 do you have the most hope for? Because I like Stalmont, but he's also coming off TOS, thoracic outlet, velo's down. Okert, I want to like, and no matter how bad he is, it's going to be pretty difficult to lose that trade with how bad Nick Gordon has been in Miami. 5 home runs, but a negative WAR is pretty hard to do. And Jay Jackson, I like the vibes. I liked the numbers last year in Toronto, but it's hard to come back from an ERA above 6, even just 6 weeks into the season. You got to be pretty much flawless the rest of the way to get that into, reasonable territory. Do you have more hope for any of those 3 than the others?
I think I might have a little more hope for Okert going forward, just because I saw him get some pretty crucial outs early in the season when Caleb Thielbar was down.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough because that he was obviously dealing with some different levels of competition for sure. But that slider can be a real weapon when he's locating it well. I think that that's a really usable pitch, and it's a pitch that the Twins love, especially in the bullpen. But yeah, it's been a tough go for him lately. But if he can really reestablish that slider as such a dominant force, then I think that he could at least get some really important outs for the team as their second lefty.
And the difference in the offense in this one was the risky business. Twins 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Margot 0 for 1, Santana 0 for 1, Jeffers 0 for 2, Kepler 0 for 1, Vasquez 0 for 1. Meanwhile, the Yankees 4 for 12, which may not sound terrific on its surface, but that's still a .333 batting average, which, that'll put you in the mix of a batting title in today's game. What else we got here? So that was a pretty big difference offensively. But Soto 0 for 3, Judge 0 for 2. It wasn't as though the Twins didn't handle them well. It's just all about timing, when these things happen. And that, again, that's the name of the game. That's the reason they lost 5-1 as opposed to, keeping it a little closer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one that slipped away.
Twins leave 6 on base, which again goes to show it's pretty hard to drive in guys when you don't have guys on base. It's why there was somebody who had 10 home runs and like 13 RBIs. I don't remember who it was, but somebody a couple weeks ago. I just remember everybody. Oh, Mike Trout. It was Mike Trout.
Sure,
of course, it was Mike Trout, who had I think it was. I might be off on the numbers, but it was very few more RBIs than home runs hit. Let's look forward before we get out of here. We got a couple minutes to go. It's Pablo Day against Marcus Stroman. I'm basing this on tweets, so this might not be my finest moment. But it sounded as though Marcus Stroman has not been great of late, not great location. And the numbers bear it out in the sense that he's walked 4.6 batters per 9, 1.5 homers per 9. Ground ball rate still there, ERA 3.8, but the FIP and everything looking a little scary. What do you think is the key here? Because, again, if you get to a guy early, you still have to deal with the Yankee bullpen. And, again, though, this Yankee bullpen could be punching above its level a bit based on the personnel. But with that said, I don't really feel like there's a lot of confidence that the Twins offense is going to be like, what's the opposite of waking up a sleeping giant, putting a baby to sleep? I don't know if that's the opposite, but I don't think the Twins are the offense to do that to the Yankees bullpen, at least not right now. So I think if they can get to Stroman early and Pablo does what Pablo has done, not so much usually does lately, I still like their chances more in the final 2 games of the season, or series rather. You got Joe Ryan and Clark Schmidt in the finale. Those are better pitching matchups for my money than the first one here with Paddock and Rodon.
I'd agree. And especially tomorrow, when I think of Marcus Stroman, I think of somebody who really throws the kitchen sink. He, at least for years, he had 5 or 6 offerings that he went to pretty frequently or pretty regularly, I should say. Yeah. I know he's probably ditched a couple of those as time has gone on, but still, that's what I think of with Stroman. So it's going to be really important for the Twins hitters tomorrow to eliminate some of those pitches early on, just get them right out of the way and really zone in on a couple that he's leaning on. And for Pablo on the other side, it's going to be about getting those big right-handed bats to chase. Going into tomorrow, Pablo Lopez has gotten right-handed hitters to chase 34% of the time over the last 2 years since he's been with the Twins, and that's 12th highest in Major League Baseball among qualified starting pitchers. So if he can be on with it against, Judge, Stanton, some of those big right-handed bats, it's going to be really huge for them tomorrow.
Stroh's been available a couple times in the last few years, whether it's free agency, trade. In fact, was famously traded for Simeon Woods Richardson at one point to the Mets. Would you have ever had any interest in him?
I would. I've vouched for that a couple of different times. Going into this year, I'm not sure if I saw it as much. You predicted that he went to the Twins on the MLB Trade Rumors prediction contest, but that was more about playing the numbers game. But he's definitely been somebody that I followed over the last couple of years as a Twins target.
Well, and he's just kind of a lightning rod for a number of different reasons, both good and bad. Also, his dad looks like a power lifter. So
yeah, I've seen that.
Lots of fun stuff there. Well, hey, I think you and I are back tomorrow night. Let's hope we're recapping a win. Make sure you check out regular Locked On Twins. We're going to have a new episode dropping in the morning, Dave Brown and myself. But for Lou Hennessy, thank you so much, Lou, for hanging out. Follow him on the tweets at SweetLouMN. This is Brandon Warne signing off, saying thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you tomorrow night.